What started as a joke but became a legitimate thing? What was your worst they can say is no event that ended worse than a no? What is normal in your country but seems weird to the rest of the world? Being middle class with a property having a 6-foot wall, electric fencing linked to an alarm, automated gate and garage doors with security clamps over the gate motor to prevent theft of the motor, security gates over every door, burglar bars, and a house alarm system with infrared sensors linked to armed response with a reaction time of under 3 to 4 minutes. Where are you from? In my friend's country, Easter is when gangs of boys roam the countryside, pouring water over girls and beating them gently with sticks. The girls then have to thank them for it. I thought that was pretty weird. Yeah, you're telling me? That's bizarre. Where is this? Leaving your baby alone outside for their nap, even if it rains or snows. People treat human babies like dogs. Cause people leave their dogs outside when it's raining and snowing like maniacs. We have matrimonial ads in newspapers and sites to find grooms and brides, which I don't think happens in Western countries, and they find it strange. The ads are mostly published by parents. It's like Tinder supervised by parents. I think the issue I have is that it's labeling as grooms or brides, not boyfriend, girlfriend to figure out what's happening. It's purely for the marriage thing. In university, we thump the tables to applaud our professors instead of actually applauding or doing nothing. During my exchange semester, everyone not from Germany was looking at me confused why I did this. That's the first I've heard of it, so I would probably think it's weird. A short while ago, they stopped selling alcohol after 10 p.m. At some stores, you couldn't even get non-alcoholic beer. What's weird though is that wine is not considered alcoholic drink, so you can buy it anytime. Welcome to Moldova. Wink. Yeah, I can hear you typing. I didn't say it right. Whole restaurants cheering when a plate or glass is smashed. UK. Once was in a Canadian bar/restaurant on holiday and a waiter dropped a tray of glasses. The local looked horrified when I was out of my seat screaming, "Wah!" Strangers sitting totally naked, skin to skin in a steamy room heated to +80 to +100°C, and us having competitions on who can last the longest in there. Yeah, it sounds like a fun game. Yeah, let's who gets a heat stroke first. Putting broken glass bottles on the walls around your house so burglars can't jump it and rob you. I moved to Canada and they don't even have walls around the houses. Putting cable ties, branches, fake eyes, etc. on helmets, buckets, and hats in springtime to scare away the birds. Magpies are vicious bastards. I'm pretty sure we have a lot of magpies where I live and they're not that mean. Granted, I stay out of their way. What's a really awkward situation that everyone can relate with? When you've had multiple interactions with someone, but you can't remember their name, but it's gone too far to admit you've forgotten it, so you just have to call them love or mate forever. I'm horrible at remembering things just in general, so this one gets me. Standing there while two people talk about something you don't know about. I mostly just kind of chime in yeah, haha, for sure, yeah, I know what you're saying. When you try to contribute to a conversation and someone cuts you off multiple times. In that scenario, you are legally allowed to just hit them. You're not saying hello or how are you to somebody and getting 100% ignored. I try and not read into it too much. Maybe they're just having a bad day or they're just evil. When you're walking past coworkers and you've already said hello earlier, everyone makes that weird flat smile. Like a gym helper just I can't audibly I can't explain that. When you're finishing up at the checkout and the cashier puts the notes on top of the receipt and then the coins on top of that, then the next person steps up and you're fumbling, trying to disassemble the stack in your hand, gathering your shopping, say thanks, and move away at the same time. And then as you're walking away, you fumble the coins again and they fall on the floor, and then you try and pick them up, and then the spaghetti falls out of your pockets, and then you're sitting on the floor in Target crying, and no, this hasn't happened to me. Stop asking. Being at a friend's house as a kid and the friend's mother starts yelling at your friend. Or being at a friend's house as a kid and the friend's father walks in only wearing underwear. What was that? Why did dads just think, yeah, it's my house, I can do what I want? That awkward moment where you and somebody else try to let each other speak, but you both try speaking at the same time and just keep failing. When you think someone waves at you, so you wave back, but they were waving at someone behind you. The worst movie cliche. You never want to get caught with that in real life. Guys, what made you realize this girl is definitely not into me? Gave a girl at work my number on a piece of paper and she handed it right back and said, "We talk at work all the time, so let's keep doing that." We set up a date. She stood me me up. When I asked her, she simply said she forgot. Good on you for at least taking somewhat of a hint, because I know a lot of people would just keep messaging her until it's really creepy. Asked a girl if she wanted to grab lunch together sometime. She said she was busy that day, which was interesting as I never specified a day. Now that is a smart move. If you want to get out of anything, just say you're busy. Doesn't matter if they tell you the details. I can't. I got something. I went out to a restaurant/bar with 4 buddies. Some ladies sent over a round of drinks to my 4 buddies. Ooh. Yeah, they went for the fatality there. I'm sorry. Went to her apartment. Then I helped her with Tinder. That's 100% you're just friend zoned or like never zoned. I don't know. Unless the girl directly says to me, I am into you, or some variation, I will assume by default that they are not into me. This is definitely the safest strategy because you can't just go around thinking everyone wants you all the time. That's not how the world works. She really only talked to me when she needed something. If it was emotional support, then you shouldn't complain. If it's money, ooh. Asked her to senior prom. She said yes, but when we got there, she ditched me to hang out with another guy she liked. Wasn't too bad though, because I danced with another girl who I got along better with. Well, at least there's a happy ending there. When she used to give everyone hugs, but only ever offered me a high five. What if you're just like really stinky and she didn't want to get like coated in that? I don't know. Take a shower? Stop texting first and realize that she never texted me for 3 days. It was totally one-sided. Yeah, that's just about every Tinder interaction I've had. What sounds like fiction, but is actually a real historical event. During World War I, the German Navy built a ship and painted it to make it look like a British ship called the RMS Carmania in order to infiltrate and destroy British convoys. On the ship's first outing, the first enemy it encountered was the real RMS Carmania, which promptly sunk it. In 2007, a paraglider got trapped in the updraft of 2 joining thunderstorms and was lifted to an altitude of 33,000 feet. She landed over 3 hours later, about 60 kilometers north of her starting position, having survived extreme cold, lightning, and lack of oxygen. Oh, that is the scariest thing that I think could ever happen. Edgar Allen Poe wrote a novel in 1838 in which 4 shipwrecked survivors at the point of starvation chose to resort to cannibalism, so they kill the young cabin boy, Richard Park, and eat him. In 1884, a ship called the Mignette sank. 4 crew members survived. At the point of starvation, they killed and ate the youngest of them, Richard Park. Ooh, spooky. Louis XIX was king of France for 20 minutes. The shortest war ever recorded was around 40 minutes long. The CIA was researching psychic abilities for 30 years as a way to spy on the USSR. After 30 years, the program was terminated, and their conclusion was that psychic powers probably don't exist. That's what they want us to believe. The dancing plague of 1518. Not gonna go into that, not gonna explain yourself. Okay, Wojtek was a bear who fought Nazis in return for cigarettes and beer. He didn't die until 20 years after World War II. Okay, I'm not gonna let that sounds awesome. That sounds so cool. Spartan weddings. Basically, young Spartans would train for years in camps surrounded only by men. So when the time came for marriage, the women would shave their heads and dress in men's clothing, since the idea of having sex with anyone other than a man weirded out the grooms. You love to see that. You love to see these strong, manly men wanna bang dudes. Operation Mincemeat. The Allies planted a dead body with fake battle plans to trick the Germans into thinking the Allies were going to attack Sardinia when they were in fact going to attack Sicily. They built an entire life for this dead, fake military man, dumped him in the ocean, and successfully distracted the Germans. While that does sound like one Looney Tunes-ass scheme, I guess it worked, so I can't complain. How do you get over someone? It's definitely easier if they're laying down because then you can just walk over them, and it's such a bad joke. You're always gonna carry that weight. Time will strengthen your back. That's kind of a nice sentiment to think about. Don't listen to sad songs or the songs you both like. It will scratch your heart every time. Time. While time does heal most wounds, this is not the answer they were looking for, I'm guessing. Accept the things you cannot change. That includes people. Time. Use generously in all your food seasonings and you should start feeling better within a couple of years. Block them everywhere you have a connection. Start something new that you've always wanted to try. Art, dance, yoga, Tai Tai Chi, a sport, or take a class or a course. Immerse yourself in something new is the idea. A ladder. Now that's the kind of person I like. They get it. I read a quote from a psychologist not all that long ago that said something like, make sure when you are replaying back all the memories in your head that you play the whole documentary and not just the highlight reel. I thought that was some good advice. It can be easy to just play back the good memories, but don't forget all the reasons they weren't right for you also. Get under someone new. I like where your head's at too. It's under someone, huh? It's a cliche, but just do you. That's the best advice I would give, honestly. I repeat to myself like mantra, you miss the feeling of being loved, not the person. What is the most unmoanable name you can think of? I can already tell this is going to be a fun question. Quintard. I saw it on a doctor's diploma the other day and just swelled with pity for him. Beetlejuice. Not because you physically couldn't, but because you could only do it twice. Emhyr var Emreis. The white flame dancing on the barrows of his enemies. Yeah, that one's hard because he insists that you say the full title. You can't just say his first name. Scooter. Oh, Scooter. Eustace. Yrjö? That's a traditional Finnish name, which means vomit in spoken Finnish. Oh, Herbert. Ugh, that didn't feel good. A friend told me their dad's name is Plunkett. Who the f*** looks at their beautiful newborn baby boy and thinks, Plunkett, it's perfect. I met someone named Nausea. Name was on an application. I did my best to tactfully ask how to pronounce it, and she said, it's nausea, just like when you have to throw up. Am I the only one moaning all of these names as I scroll through? I've tried a couple, but it's uncomfy. Your date is a 10, but it has one thing you don't like that is enough to make you lose interest / walk away. What would that thing be? Racist is one, I guess. They did a long, drawn-out, expensive divorce just to punish their ex. Looking down on someone just because they work a minimum wage job. Oh yeah, throw that person in the trash. They're not worth it. I went on a date once with a guy who started flirting with a waitress in front of me, who was 2 decades younger than him and visibly uncomfortable. She listened to nothing but Neil Diamond. Like nothing at all. I mean, I like Neil Diamond just fine, but she had like 200 tapes and records of nothing but Neil Diamond. Nothing else. Nothing! Being on their phone the whole time. They only talk about themselves and have no interest in anything I say. I'd rather not date a narcissist. If they are mean to animals, yeah, that, like, I mean, how would you display that? Like, what, are they kicking squirrels on your way to the restaurant? If they repeatedly make fun of me in front of their friends and say they're just kidding. They hurt animals or children. If you're willing to hurt someone that can't defend themselves, then I don't want to be associated with you at all. If they clearly know they're a 10 and believe everyone around them, including me, should be grateful they're gracing us with their physical perfection. What's not cool anymore when you turn 30? Getting blackout drunk. Turns out I'm not fun. I'm just an alcoholic. I value my sleep a lot more at 30 than I did at 29. It scares me. I'm not in my 20s anymore, but life is good. Sleep deprivation. That one's not really cool at any age, I would say. Teenager / early 20s. Yo, we can save money by booking the 7 a.m. return flight and not paying for accommodations. Let's just stay at the club until 5 a.m. or sleep on the airport floor. 30-year-old, I'd rather die. Bragging about your high school accomplishments. Yeah, when you get to 30, that's just tacky and stupid. Sleeping 8 to a hotel room to save money. Okay, but you can't really dig on people for doing that. It saves money. Spending all your money at the bar on payday. That's not necessarily like a 20-year-old thing. That's an alcoholic thing. Here's some perspective from way in your future. I'm 64. When I was in my 50s, my motto was, oh well, I have 2 mottos from my 60s. Anyway, doesn't matter. And I don't need that stress in my life. It's a great place to live. Acting stupid and doing dumb your risk of getting hurt increases. What's something you can bring up right now to unlock some childhood nostalgia for the rest of us? That feeling when you're going as high as you can go on the swings. Power, freedom, hard to describe. Getting up in the morning on a day it snowed to watch the list of closed schools across the bottom of the news / weather channel, hoping your school was closed. Unfortunately, I grew up in California and schools never closed. It didn't matter. That sound of a door opening and shutting on AIM when your friend logs on. When you'd watch a VHS recess and it would say, "And now your feature presentation." An eraser that looks and smells like a very fake strawberry. Ooh, I remember those, but because I was weird, I would try and eat them. I'm not going to talk about it. Waking up super early on Saturday morning before the rest of the family to watch cartoons. Now that is some dedication. Watching The Price is Right when you were sick at home. Pez dispensers. That's not really an old thing. I mean, they're still around. Less common and less fun, but they're still there. Those candy necklaces. Yeah, as you get older, they start morphing into like thongs and stuff, and they just get weird. Eating one of those plastic wrapped ice pop things after a long day of playing outside in your backyard with your friends. Oh, like Otter Pops or some people just call them regular popsicles. Like, I don't know. Scholastic book fairs. I never had the money to buy the books, but I became like Robin Hood for the rest of my school. I would go in and steal the zoology and like Egyptology books. The tingle of a skinned knee from dragging on the asphalt and the dread of having it cleaned. Yeah, moms would really just dump rubbing alcohol over a scrape, huh? I guess that disinfects, but that shit hurts. Each sold separately. Batteries not included. How does someone politely end a conversation with the person who won't stop talking? In Flanders, we have a word for it. Bon. And then you say something, "I have work to do, it's time to go home, it's time to get drinks." And people realize the other person wants to leave without being mean. When they draw a breath, politely say, "On that note, I must be on my way." Then simply leave. If they keep talking over polite cues, I have found there really isn't a polite way to exit the conversation. I seriously need to learn how to do this. I'm too polite and like a magnet for these types who just want a warm body to talk at. Can barely get a word in edgewise, and when I do, it's like they don't even hear me. Say, "Well," slap your knee and stand up to leave. "Sorry, I have to return some videotapes." Find a hedge and slowly disappear into it. Ah, classic Homer Simpson. My go-to is, "I don't want to cut you short, but I really need to get going. Let's connect another time." And that's it. Very business of you. Oh my gosh, I've already taken up so much of your time. I'm so sorry. I'm even running late myself. What's your comfort series that you watch over and over again? Freaks and Geeks. I still haven't watched all of it, even though it's really good for the few episodes I've watched, and the few episodes that were released. Malcolm in the Middle. I recently binged the entire show, and I'm surprised that that show was on Fox, of all networks. When I was in grad school, it was House MD, no matter where I was at. Dorm room, library, Memorial Union. If I was writing, I also had House up on Netflix. During my year and a half, I bet I watched that series 5 or 6 times. Such a great show. Stargate SG-1. I've never watched that show. I hear a lot of good things. I'm too scared. Over the Garden Wall. Oh, I watched that a couple years ago, and God, I need to rewatch that every single year. It's such a cozy, spooky show. Star Trek: The Next Generation. Again, Star Trek is something I've been meaning to get into. It's intimidating. The Nanny. Dripping with amazing fashion, sarcasm, and during a simpler time. Top Gear, when it was Clarkson, May, and Hammond. 30 Rock never fails to make me laugh. What is your most controversial take on Star Wars? That it sucks and it's stupid. Yeah, you can kill me. I like Star Wars. The movies, the shows, the games. But the community ruins it. They complain and bitch about every single thing there is. It's fantasy, not history. For a show that explores the fucking universe, so much bullshit happens in goddamn Tatooine. Why is it always the desert planet? Like, why is it always gotta get back there? Not enough planet wars, black hole wars, or moon wars. What's the point? Lasers lock doors. Lasers open doors. Lasers know what you want the doors to do. Alright, it was a long time ago in a galaxy far away. Of course lasers are never mind. Han is actually older than Obi-Wan due to time dilation. The Death Stars weren't badly designed, they were just badly managed. Not sure if controversial, but they need to take the franchise and yeet it into 200 years in the future. I'm tired of the Empire era where they need to justify why more than 2 Jedi and 2 Sith exist at one moment alongside knowing everything is pointless until Luke leaves the farm. That one of the biggest issues of Star Wars is that they keep going all in on Palpatine. I mean, who gave a fuck about the paint-by-numbers evil Emperor during the OG trilogy? I judge most of my opinion of a Star Wars movie by the quality of its lightsaber fights. I mean, yeah, that's kind of what everybody's there for. Cool laser sword fighting. It's awesome. And some movies just didn't use it. What is a minor confession you would like to make today? I pissed in my bully's shoe on a field trip to the public pool when I was 10. I entered a Halloween coloring drawing page contest as my little sister and won first place. A friend I hadn't talked to in a while hit me up with a DM on Twitter, and I was like, oh yay, I haven't talked to them in a long time, only to find out that they were pitching their Kickstarter, so it made me a little sad. I had a friend from elementary school message me a couple of years ago. We hadn't talked in years, and he asked if I could help him build a computer so he could mine crypto. I was like, no, why would I do that? Currently eating an ice cream sandwich and intentionally concealing it from my 2-year-old so he doesn't demand a bite. I could have finished my entire workload today in maybe 2 hours flat, but I dragged it out. If you're paid hourly, then yeah, of course you're gonna do that. I didn't attend one of my courses when I was studying abroad in Spain. I looked for the classroom on day 1, couldn't find it, just didn't go for the rest of the semester. They chalked it up to an administrative error, and I got full credit for the program. I've been browsing Reddit for 3 hours while I'm supposed to be working. That's kind of like what I'm doing. Most of the time when I go to the bathroom at work, I don't actually have to go to the bathroom. I just want to sit down for 5 minutes and not get bitched at for it. As you deserve. Always piss on company time. Or poop, either one. Sorry, poop is funny. I am the one who clogged the office toilet today. You best not be saying that in my workplace, cause ooh, it's hands on site. I've had to unclog the toilet at work like 6 times and I'm sick of it. I let my boss think I'm dumb so he gives me less work. Now they have the right idea. That's how you scam to get that bag. I have to interview people at work and I think I'm usually way more nervous than they are. What's a midlife crisis for people who could never afford a sports car? Crying by ourselves after our family has fallen asleep. Oh, I'm sorry. At 47, I just started woodworking. In retrospect, it would have been cheaper to just buy the damn sports car. For me, it was getting into every hobby that I wish I had done in the previous 20 years. In the last 3 years, kayaks, mountain bike, disc golf, tabletop wargaming, and gardening. Well, at least those all sound fun. Buying an electric guitar without even knowing how to play, then hanging it on the wall in the man cave because you gave up after a couple weeks. I just built an arcade machine in my man cave for the friend I no longer get to hang with. Does that count? Alright, I have a confession. Stop calling things man caves. They're not. Just call it your room at that point. Like, who cares? It's such a weird word. Like, don't use it. Trying to start a band. Even better if it's a punk band. Old punks are pretty punk. Not very typical, but a friend's dad got really heavily into Warhammer 40k. To my wife's dismay, I've started Mealworm Farm. Easy, very little maintenance and cost. Pretty fun to look at the worms and beetles. The thing is, I have no pets to feed these worms to, and the population is exploding. Well, it looks like you're gonna have a pretty big stomp fest coming your way. What was the big rumor in your high school? Did it turn out to be true? I honestly don't remember if mine had any real big rumors, so I guess I'm not a part of the fun. Athletics coordinator was fudging documents on kids' addresses so they would be able to go to our school instead of others in the district. We won like 5 state championships that year. People take sports way too seriously, like it kind of makes me sick. When I was a freshman, some seniors were counterfeiting money. This was around 2004-05. They made some pretty convincing bills and spent them around town, including the school cafeteria. That year I learned that the Secret Service has a counterfeit investigation department. Dr. Palmero, the band teacher, never received his doctorate in music like he claimed. It was weird. He used to force all his students to address him as doctor, but when he came back from his leave of absence, we all called him by Mr., like nothing happened. That a new student was actually a police officer. He was, and the idiots were busted for selling drugs. On a ski trip, the phys ed teacher allegedly porked the science teacher. Someone saw him go into her room in the middle of the night. They denied it, but years later, they got married. That one of the gym teachers, very large lady, broke the diving board every year. I didn't have her class, but from what I understood, it was true, except it only happened once. What is proven to be a hoax, but people still believe it to be true? That cracking your knuckles gives you arthritis. Remember, your knuckles are recharged, so you can crack them again. If you pull out a gray hair, 3 more grow in its place. My sister still believes this one. We only use 10% of our brain. I don't know how this one really got circulated. I mean, how? Touching a baby bird will make its parents reject it. I sorta see where people would think that, but I don't know, it's birds, they'll figure it out. That you swallow 8 spiders a year in your sleep. Okay, but where's the evidence that we aren't? Huh? MLMs, boss babes, be your own boss scams. I'm not sure how many documentaries need to be put on YouTube before people will stop buying into these companies and wasting their money. Not just their money, their time too. Shaving makes hair grow in thicker. Oh, you're saying that's not true? Well, tell it to my hair. The food pyramid. It's a hoax? I thought it was just like a good standard guideline of like nutrition. It's illegal to keep the light on in the car while driving. No, that one's not a hoax, that's real. Turn it off. What is something that tastes good both hot and cold? Cookies. I guess you're right, because when you buy cookies at the store, they're cold, but when you make them, you can also make them nice and warm and gooey and ooh. Pie. Yeah, I guess same way for that, but there are frozen pies, so yeah. Revenge. No. Revenge is a dish best served cold. You should know that. Chocolate. Hot chocolate? Okay, never mind, you got me. Banana bread. 2 totally different flavors depending on warm versus cold from fridge. Sandwiches. I worked at a Jimmy John's for so long. Cold sandwiches are just not worth it. At least when that's all there is on the menu. Go anywhere else, please. Coffee. I'm definitely more of a hot coffee person, but iced coffee does hit on a hot day. The horrifyingly intense existential dread of life. I prefer my existential dread lukewarm. Tea. Yeah, I mean, there's so many varieties to a lot of these things, so of course there's hot and cold. What's something you're 100% sure most people are lying about? Dentist. How often do you floss? Me. Avoiding eye contact. I think it was a week ago. How much their side hustle nets them. Oh yeah, everyone's lying on that. I'm not addicted. I can stop whenever I want. I am not a robot. Like, come on, guy. It's not funny anymore. As a prior US service member, I believe I have met every single Navy SEAL that's ever existed, and then an extra 500 or so. Plus everyone that thought about going into the military. I have read and understood the terms and conditions. When you ask them, how's it going? And they say, it's going good, that they don't pick their nose. You have to admit, you do it. You're doing it right now. Get that thing out of your nose. Fully understanding the plot of the Metal Gear Solid series. No, it's actually like super simple. It's just a guy who, let's move on. What type of people are you scared of? It's a bit hard to categorize, but for me, it's people who can't be reasoned with. Looking at you, BTS kids. I don't remember who said it, but it's not the people that are unsure that bother me. It's the people that are so certain that scare the hell out of me. People who are manipulative liars, who get you to care about them and then play the victim just to watch you suffer. There is an odd category of people who seem to be able to get away with anything they do, may it be by their looks, skills, wits, power, and everything in between. Them. I'm afraid of them. People who refuse to take responsibility for their mistakes. People with a short temper. The drunk guys at a bar that always have that stare. People who are unwilling to accept the limits of their knowledge. Like, you need to be able to admit that you're wrong sometimes. What is the dumbest lyric of all time? I'm farting. I don't know how to potty. Kodak Black? Why would he say that? England is my city? What was that, Team 10? When I was a geisha, he was a samurai. Somehow I understood him when he spoke Thai. Your Love by Nicki Minaj. What are these? Your booty is heavy duty like diarrhea. I love that. If you ever feel alone, don't. One Direction. Oh, hits me right here. I'm serious as cancer when I say rhythm is a dancer. What are you talking about? 50 Cent once said, when I die, they'll read this and say a genius wrote it. Then 3 lines later, he says, I'm similar to a squirrel looking for a with a nice butt to get a nut. Genius. She was a good witch. She was a bad witch. But all I really wanted was a motherfucking sandwich. What are these? I don't want to see a ghost. It's the sight that I fear most. Rather have a piece of toast. Life by Desiree. What are these? Say that you a lesbian. Girl, me too. Drake, come on. Why are you single right now? Kind of a rude question to ask someone, but I guess. I put absolutely no effort into meeting someone. I've been falling in and out of that zone recently. I have too many unsolved issues. I can't in good conscience bring someone else into them. That's a pretty noble reasoning. I like that. Hard to meet people when you are a hermit. I hardly go out and expose myself to people. I'm uncomfortable with the notion of myself being in a relationship at this point. Also, I'm very dry in terms of personality. Don't knock yourself too hard. Torture file. Supply chain issue. Yeah, it's always, the manufacturers just aren't sending people my way. God damn it, Grandma. What are you doing on Reddit? Last relationship was so toxic. I've sworn off dating, at least for a while. I haven't had this much free time in ages. It's nice. My fiance died almost 5 years ago, and I'm still a broken and nearly insane shell of a man. Oh, I'm sorry, man. I really hope something takes a good turn for you. Not really looking. Sometimes it's really cool being single, honestly. You can just worry about yourself and your goals getting accomplished. I'm attracted to many and unattractive to all. Every country is an animal. What animal is your country? A beaver riding a caribou. Guess the country. I'm gonna say Lithuania. Kiwi. Oh, okay, so you're from Australia. Dragon. If that's not allowed, then a sheep. Oh, gotcha. South Africa. Turkey, I guess. So you're from Hungary? A sad, hobbled horse with a party hat on. Scotland. Oh, I wanted to guess. Fucking kangaroo with a baby koala in its pouch. I don't know. Oh, okay, so now it's New Zealand. Gotcha. One of those worm things that swim up your hole in the Amazon River. America? A bald eagle with an AR-15 and a can of Budweiser. Classic Britain. My country is actually shaped like a chicken, so I'm guessing chicken. It's Slovenia. Oh, I thought it was gonna be Kentucky, because they fry chicken and stuff. You have to watch one movie for 24 hours straight or your family dies. Snacks are provided. What are you choosing? As a parent, I have already passed this test. It's Paw Patrol, the movie. Honestly, what movie would be bad enough that you wouldn't watch it for 24 hours to save your family? Snacks are provided? Can I do this anyway, please? Any of those high-quality nature documentary movies. Might get boring, but better than repeating a plotline 8 times. The Mummy, 1999. Actually, I'm pretty sure I've done this voluntarily on a sick day. Couldn't be bothered to change the DVD. That's a good movie. You didn't choose a bad one. Groundhog Day, of course. Ooh, now I like where your head's at on that one, just repeating over and over. Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, extended cut. But to watch that back to back to back, I don't know, that's a lot. Granted, you'd only be watching it like 5 times, less than. Shaun of the Dead. For some reason, I still haven't seen it, and I feel like a bad person. Am I a bad person? The 10-hour-long version of They're Taking the Hobbits to Isengard 2.5 times. Interstellar. Thus, I can finally understand the ending of it. I love the idea of someone getting sick of a movie 20 hours in and being like, sorry guys, I tried, but being bored is more important than you being alive. What's a weird thing you think only you do? Whenever I think about a cringe time I had in my life, I start singing or humming to cover it up. When I need to make a decision, I consult an imaginary person in my head who is a combination of everyone I know, and they give me advice that I'm really giving myself. When a car drives past me, I try to remember the number on the plate. There's no reason for that, it just automatically happens. When I mow the yard, I pretend I'm on ESPN and 2 sports announcers in my head are commenting on how excellent I took that turn and the precision movements of my mowing. Save all my emails as drafts and then release them in one giant wave. If I'm home alone, I'll host a cooking show for no one while I cook or bake. Twist my wrist a few times as I reach to open a door. Gotta make sure the wrist works before I get there. When I go get the mail, if I hear a car coming, I run in the house real quick so they don't see me and then look through the blinds like I got away with something. I have to let my wife go up the stairs first when it's bedtime because she has an irrational fear of being shot through the letterbox. When in the car, I pick my right foot up as we pass the white lines and tap it down between them. Have done this since I was little. I squeeze my soda can ever so slightly so that I know that it's mine. Growing up poor with a lot of siblings tends to make you a bit competitive. What was your worst they can say is no event that ended worse than a no? Asked boss for a raise, got fired. Ooh, that sounds like a lawsuit potentially. In junior high, I asked out my first boy crush and he said, I don't date guys. I'm a girl. Oh, I'm so sorry. Asked my crush to homecoming. Was honestly shocked she said yes. She was texting one of our mutual friends how she wasn't going to have any fun at homecoming since I was going with her. Ooh, that's just a bullet to the back. Asked my mom if I could do roller derby at 19 and she took my car away and drained my bank account. She ended up putting the money back and giving my keys back a couple days later, but what the fuck was that? Had an interview for a job. My dad told me the worst they could say is no. The interviewer yelled at me and berated me. Terrible experience. Well, at least you know you never want to work there. Asked a guy I had a huge crush on out for dinner and he said yes. Mid-date, he started hitting on the waitress and telling me how hot she is. Turns out he had no idea it was a date. Almost 20 years later, we're still friends and laugh about it. Hurt like hell at the time though. I thought she'd say no. What she actually said was, can you not? I once went to a job interview that I drove an hour and a half away from my house, and when I got there, the door was locked. I knocked, I called, I waited a little bit in case they were at lunch. No one responded, and so I left. them. Yeah, they should not be making you wait that long to get a job. Asked out this girl in middle school and she said, I think I'm gonna throw up. Hurt like hell when I was little, but when we met up years later, I found out it was because she was nervous. Went to knock on someone's door to ask for money as part of an annual high school band fundraiser. Ended up being attacked and bitten by their dog. Left me with permanent damage in my leg and a fear of dogs I'm still not 100% over 12 years later. What's the most out of line thing a doctor has ever said to you? Mental health doctor told my daughter, you're too pretty to be depressed. What the hell? You don't say that to people. Not a doctor, but a dentist. When I was like 13 or 14, he commented on my lack of gag reflex, telling me that I'm going to be very popular with the boys. It took me a few years to realize what he meant by that. Mentioned that my sex drive was abnormally low to my gyno, and she said my husband just needed to be more forceful when initiating and I'd get into it. Immediately switched doctors and never looked back. Yeah, that's just some freak nonsense. Like, that's crazy. They gave me the wrong STD test results. Oh no! How does that happen? There is nothing wrong with you. Your problem is right here, as he points to his head. Then proceeds to recommend a religious radio station. I only timidly asked about some unexplained bruises appearing on the tops of my thighs. Another doctor asked me out when removing a mole. God damn, it is so hard to be a woman. I'm so sorry. I was with my girlfriend at a clinic, and the old male doctor asked her if her period was regular, and then asked me if her period made her bitchy. If the nurse's glare contained heat, that asshole would have combusted. Not a doctor, but a nurse told me that I shouldn't exercise to raise my heart rate because my heart has a fixed number of beats in it before it goes out. What popular saying is utter bullshit? Cheaters never prosper. Yeah, that's bull. I mean, look at how many billionaires we have. Only the guilty explain themselves. Sure they do, because wrongly accusing someone can do plenty harm. Also, the innocent have nothing to fear. The innocent have a lot to fear, mostly from the guilty, but in the long term, even more so from people who say things like, the innocent have nothing to fear. Sir Terry Pratchett, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. Bullshit. I love woodworking and metalworking, but it's fucking work. If you smelt it, you dealt it. I know for a fact that there have been several times that I had smelt it and know absolutely that I had not dealt it. Slow and steady wins the race. Doesn't really make any sense. The true moral of the story, Tortoise and the Hare, is hubris is God's mightiest sword, since the hare's arrogance was his downfall in the race. Love means never having to say you're sorry. We're all in this together. What, you're saying High School Musical lied to me? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. PTSD is also a possibility. If you can't deal with my worst, you don't deserve my best. No. Hell no. Run away. Lightning never strikes twice. During lightning storms, I'm pretty sure lightning strikes a lot than twice. Never go to sleep angry. Nonsense. Sleep it off. We'll both feel better in the morning. I'm not giving up sleep to fight. If you could make something illegal, what would it be? Spam calls. God, the amount of calls I get on a day-to-day basis. Websites with those stupid videos that stay open in a floating window when you scroll down below the main video. Seriously, who thought those were a good idea? Police sirens in radio commercials. Small X buttons on mobile ads. I hate the kind where unless you have dainty fingers, you get redirected to a website. Junk mail. Think of all the "you're pre-qualified for a credit card" mail people get and how much of that goes straight in the trash. That's all I get in the mail. It's really annoying. Leaving e-scooters in the middle of the sidewalk. I think the scooters are like kind of weird, but I don't live in a big enough city to where they're needed, so just put them to the side, like near the curb. Get them out of the way. Free trials that force you to pay or put in credit card details. Oh yeah, no, that's just actually a scam. Like, never do that. Corporations buying and owning homes to make profit, essentially erasing affordable housing. Welcome to America. What started as a joke but became a legitimate thing. Weezer covering Africa by Toto happened because a 14-year-old girl made an account whose sole purpose was making this request, and the account gained enough popularity that they caught on and thought it was funny, so they did it for her. Oh, that's kind of sweet. I didn't know that was the reason. People making fun of razors with multiple blades and Gillette actually making it. This happened twice. B-movie. Jerry Seinfeld supposedly pitched the idea of a B-movie about bees as a joke, but Steven Spielberg liked it so much that it got greenlit. Editor's note, that was an answer before in like the last recording I did. I think Collect 49 or something. something? My dad was a member of the Flat Earth Society in the 80s. He thought it was the funniest thing ever to pretend that anyone would actually believe that. I wonder what he would think if he were alive today. The minor league baseball team name for Huntsville, Alabama, the Trash Pandas. Alright, Alabama might have a lot of issues, but that's a solid decision. Dogecoin, of course. Bugs Bunny's carrot started as a joke about a scene in a 1934 movie called It Happened One Night. Now, almost a century later, the joke has been lost and the carrot has just become part of the character. Tauntaun sleeping bags started off as a Think Geek April Fool's product, and then they started selling them. Potato chips started because a cook was mad at a customer sending back scalloped potatoes, and now the most popular snack in the world. I know it's sad, but we've come to the end of today's video. My name's been Brandon. Thanks for watching.